In the early 20th century, the best football players in the world only competed for their countries at the Summer Olympics. Because the Olympic Games strictly required athletes to be unpaid amateurs, the highest level of international play was closed to any player earning a living from the sport. FIFA recognized the need for a professional world championship. In 1928, they decided to launch their own tournament, selecting Uruguay to host the inaugural event in 1930 to celebrate the nation's centenary of independence. But inviting countries to play and actually getting them there were two different problems. The world was plunging into the Great Depression, and for European sides, reaching South America meant enduring 3-week boat trips across the Atlantic Ocean. No European country committed to the trip until just 2 months before kickoff. After intense persuasion by FIFA's president, only 4 European nations finally agreed to make the voyage, bringing the total number of participating teams to 13. The hosts, Uruguay, ultimately defeated Argentina to win the inaugural title in front of 93,000 spectators. This first contest was a fragile experiment. It relied on personal invitations and grueling maritime travel, operating entirely outside the hyper-connected global spectacle we recognize today. In these early decades, decisions about where to play were made through informal boardroom handshakes, often triggering deep geographical rifts. When FIFA chose France to host the 1938 tournament instead of returning to South America as expected, Argentina and Uruguay both boycotted the event. Following a 12-year cancellation caused by World War II, the tournament returned in 1950. Brazil built the colossal Maracanã Stadium for the occasion, only to suffer a devastating defeat on home soil when Uruguay claimed their second title. The winners received the Jules Rimet trophy, a gold-plated sculpture of the Greek goddess of victory. Early FIFA rules stated that any national team winning the tournament 3 times would keep the physical cup permanently. Brazil achieved this in 1970, securing their 3rd championship and taking the statue home to Rio de Janeiro for good. 13 years later, thieves broke into the Brazilian Football Confederation headquarters and stole the prize. It was never recovered, and investigators believe it was melted down and sold as gold bars. This era was driven by fierce localized passion and ad hoc organization. The prize was a literal object that could be won, kept, and eventually destroyed by the very history it represented. By the late 20th century, the sport's popularity outpaced the original 16-team limit. FIFA responded by expanding the tournament's capacity to accommodate entries from outside Europe and South America. This bracket maps the tournament's structural growth. After decades at 16 teams, the field grew to 24 in 1982 and 32 in 1998. Widening this probability gave teams from Africa, Asia, and North America the consistent chance to advance into the knockout rounds. This structural shift paved the way for massive underdog campaigns. South Korea reached the semifinals in 2002, and Morocco achieved the same historic milestone in 2022. Opening those extra slots shifted the power dynamics. The tournament ceased to be a closed circuit for 2 continents, allowing teams from 5 different confederations to reach the final stages through qualification alone. To replace the stolen Jules Rimet prize, FIFA commissioned the current 18-karat solid gold trophy. Its introduction signaled a sharp acceleration in the tournament's modern prestige. As that prestige compounded, the process for selecting host nations changed. What used to be simple Congress votes evolved into cutthroat, multi-billion-dollar bidding wars between sovereign states. The staggering flow of money and political capital through these host selections compromised the boardroom. By 2015, the organization's executive committee was enveloped by a sweeping corruption scandal. An FBI investigation exposed a massive criminal enterprise. Officials admitted to accepting over $150 million in bribes across 24 years to rig hosting bids, leading to a 47-count indictment for wire fraud and money laundering. The value of hosting had outgrown simple sporting ambition. It became a lucrative geopolitical asset, and the mechanisms controlling it proved vulnerable to systemic fraud. While the boardroom fractured, the expanded format created a massive commercial reach. Broadcasts now capture an audience of over 3.5 billion people, nearly half the global population. This audience created a branding boom. Multinational corporations now integrate themselves into the experience, licensing everything from official match balls to the Panini sticker trading albums. This bar chart illustrates the financial results of that reach. FIFA generated $4.8 billion from the 2014 tournament and over $6.1 billion from the 2018 cycle. The World Cup now functions as a self-sustaining media engine. It produces billions in revenue by packaging 64 matches into a broadcast product sold to every corner of the planet. Here is the jump in scale from the tournament's origin to its immediate future. On the left is the 13-team footprint of 1930. On the right, the plan for 2026, which expands to 48 competing teams playing a total of 104 matches. Providing the stadium, transit, and hospitality infrastructure for 48 squads and millions of traveling fans is now a burden too large for a single nation. Hosting on this scale is logistically impossible for all but a handful of the largest countries. To solve the capacity problem, the model has shifted to joint hosting. In 2026, Canada, Mexico, and the United States will pool their infrastructure to handle the load across an entire continent. The tournament's journey is complete. It started as an invitation-only boat trip for a gold-plated statue that thieves eventually melted down. Today, it is a multi-continent operation with 104 matches and 48 squads, commanding the synchronized attention of 5 billion people.